Hey there, you. Welcome back to It's a Matter of Speaking, a podcast for leading voices. I'm still getting used to saying that name for our podcast, but we still speak with leading voices in the industry of health, wealth, and relationships in hopes to reaching those aspiring voices in one of those realms. People that have a message in their heart, they have a mastery in their mind, and they want to share it, but we're on that precipice of comfort and uncomfort, and where do I get started? We talk with these guests to understand their story, understand the uncomfort of their journey, understand the lessons they have to teach, and why they decided to get uncomfortable in the first place. And maybe we'll inspire you. If not, maybe just get some really cool fucking stories out of it. Today, we're speaking in the arena of health. Just chatted with Jackie Chandler. She's fucking awesome. I told her at the end, I'm like, I took minimal notes because I was so entranced with like the melody and the rhythm just of her life and what she's learned and what she has to share. Let me tell you a little bit about her though. Activist and author, Jackie Chandler has a background in fashion design, believe it or not. Marketing and media. She has worked as a corporate story coach, geotourism guide, and Earth Gym co founder. Wait to how she talks about using Mother Earth as a gym. She was a former creative consultant at Nat Geo TV show Legend of Mick Dodge, and she's a TEDx speaker and motivational speaker. After learning how travelers will pay to protect, she started the nonprofit sustaintahoe.org, link in the description below, to demonstrate how visitors can sustain the places they love to visit. Her own Earth Walk, or passion and commitment to reconnect with nature and embolden generations to do the same, has inspired songwriting as well as writing books and editorials that help address some of the personal and planetary issues we face, including social isolation, the nature deficit disorder, and our current climate crisis. We talk about books that she is creating and a animated series coming out called Sing with Nature. Super cool concept for the next generation. Some of the big things that I took away, what she talks about is being a leading voice, like disrupting the status quo, having the courage to believe in your calling and be willing to do it. She speaks so powerfully about it. Um, she also talks about having awareness and awareness leading to curiosity and connection and what that can give you. And the what I've got from her story is she's had the courage to shine her light, however different it is, and the people she's met because of it, to continue to progress in her mission. And she has this faith that even when it's all said and done for her, if her message doesn't get across in her lifetime, that's okay. She's planting the millennial forest. Amazing concept. You're gonna love it today. Um, yeah, all of her links are in the descriptions below. Same with ours in the description below, which, of course, let me do a quick ad read. This podcast is brought to you by Speaker Mastermind. Over the last 8 years, this company has made it a mission to help its coaching and consulting clients get their authentic message out to the world in hopes of reaching their own desired audience through the power of speaking and business building. Jackie has taken the former path, to speak on the TEDx stage and through podcasts. Also, a motivational speaker. With over 650 clients landing TEDx talks, hundreds more speaking on virtual and physical stages around the world, Speaker Mastermind has perfected the art of delivering a top tier message. One of the things Jackie talked about is like the power and the skill it takes to refine that message. So that was really cool. Speaker Mastermind also offers programs to build and scale your own high ticket program and authentically market and sell it to your target audience in order to build a sustainably scaled business. You got a message in your heart, you got a mastery in your mind. You need the kick in the ass, or you need the skills to be able to get your message across the way that your audience needs to receive it. Check out the links below. There's free webinars you can watch. You can learn more about Taylor Conroy, the founder of the company. And hear his message and what he has to teach you. Maybe you just watch the webinar and that's it. Maybe you want to take next steps. You can speak with someone on the team. If that is the option for you, completely free call. Yeah, that's kind of it. Super excited for this podcast. If you're liking this stuff, please click that little thumbs up button. It's free to do that. Or comment. Hey, what do you like about this? What do you not like? What do you hate about me? I say that every time. I'm still cool with you making fun of me. That being said, let's have me shut up just talking to you and let's go over to me and Jackie to learn you something. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, episode 23. I'm your host, Dylan Barr. Today, we speak in the realm of health with my new friend, Jackie Chandler. Jackie, welcome to the podcast.
Grateful to share. Thank you for inviting me.
I am so excited to hear this story. We're going to talk about nature. We're going to talk about singing with nature, to nature, with nature. We're going to talk about your experiences with it. But I'm going to start with the new question. Used to be, what does it mean to be a thought leader? And as we were talking before we started recording, it's like, I'm starting to hear the answers where people are like, it's like having a thought and then doing something. It's like acting on it. You're doing talks online. I watched a couple of them. You're here speaking on a podcast. So for you, the question I have is you're voicing this. So for you, what does it mean to be a leading voice in the arena?
That's a voice other people are willing to listen to, but it also disrupts the field. A leading voice disrupts the status quo. It has to disrupt so that innovation can be sparked, so that new thoughts can come forward. I mean, you can lead with a new thought, but you can't make people think until they're thirsty. So a leading voice articulates an idea sitting right below that conscious, imaginal goo. And it's like a blade of grass pushing through the concrete. You know, when you see that blade of grass is pushing through the concrete and it's making us question, is this a good idea, all this concrete? Reaching for the light. That's a leading voice. It takes courage.
I love that you bring it back to nature already in question one. What do you do for yourself? Because that is like, just hearing, I'm like, wow, that's ballsy, right? You're going against the status quo. You're speaking to disrupt, which right there, we talk about being uncomfortable. Right there can make people feel really uncomfortable. What do you do to prime yourself to be able to speak that into the regular status quo?
Well, your conviction about what you feel, see, and hear, the voice that you're trying to convey, has to be very strong. And you have to have the courage, because if you look through history, many leading voices didn't end up well. If they weren't burned as a witch, think of people that listened to the earth. Think of people that were persecuted. Few of those, right? People whose voice wasn't appreciated till centuries later. So are they a leading voice? At that time, the disruption was too much for the collective consciousness. So it had to be squashed. I mean, we see that every day here in our modern society. Look at Greta Thunberg. You know, I mean, there's some incredible leading voices out there. But if the thought consciousness isn't ready or willing to evolve the story, like that blade of grass, it could just get paved over. It takes courage to put insight out there. And if the thinking is not right, you may not be appreciated, but it's a calling. It's a calling. And I think right now we're in a renaissance of this. And so leading voices are being called out. And that's why there's so many. And this is so good, because we need to critically think. If everyone's thinking alike, no one's thinking. And you remember what George Carlin said, the one thing power and control does not want is critical thinking.
Damn. For you, it puts a different spin on the word legacy. Because a lot of people, it's like, I'm leaving my legacy and it's got to be done while I'm here. But it's like, you could speak your voice out to this frequency of the current status quo to shake it up, that it might be respected and digested and understood and put into practice decades after you're physically gone.
Absolutely. You have to be willing for that. That's hard. It's a little painful. It's like the bamboo tree. You know, you plant it, nothing happens for 10 years, and then it grows a foot a day. You may not be there to see that, but I'm in for the millennial forest now. I'm in to seed a millennial mindset, the long game of like, we plant the seeds, and I may not be here like other people that are speaking from the voice of the earth, and we see where that goes. Other people will pick it up.
It's powerful because you can like lay your head down at the end of the day or at the end of your life and be like, I watered, I did what I needed to do, right? You don't need to like instantly reap the rewards of it. You're like, no, I did what I needed to do while I was here. And that's what we're taking with us, right? That's the last thoughts we're having before we go into whatever reality there is after this. You bring up a lot of, you're already bringing up earthly analogies, millennial forest, bamboo, which I love that story. You're bringing up the piece of blade of grass that comes through the concrete. The heart of your message feels like it deals with nature and Mother Earth. What gave you your early, if you could take us back to the beginning, what gave you your early love for being in nature?
Well, I grew up in suburbia, so my early relationship was not there. Nobody connected me to the trees and the water. It was just like how our culture presents nature is what? Scenery, recreation, resource. Mm-hmm. So about 4 decades ago, I meet this Marine vet who's moving all his weight equipment into the forest so he can train outside. And then he realizes, and so I start training outside, and it suddenly becomes obvious, wait a minute, why are we moving all this equipment outside? The earth is already a gym. There's sticks and stones everywhere, and all these sticks connect you to the tree, and you can do all these amazing stretches that you can't imagine how it opens up your body with a stick. And when you start training with a stone, it trains an open grip, not a closed grip, like a weight. And so the exploration of following this insight of how to stretch and tone with a stick and a stone started to make me feel more at home in the forest. And that was step one of going on a quest to find all the ways I could train with a tree and a river and rocks and boulders. Was like I was building a connection with it. That book Braiding Sweetgrass talks about the 3 voices: the science, the indigenous, and the earth voice. The earth voice doesn't really speak English, but it is a sense and a feeling. And when you walk softly in a mindful way with your senses open and you follow your feet, the earth will teach. And so when I ended up moving to Tahoe, I connected with some indigenous people here, and they shared some songs because I thought, I want to understand the language of this land, because now I live in a forest. So I've come a long way from, growing up in suburbia. So, but it's a new language. It's a new relationship. The currency of all living systems, relationship. And that's the currency that creates the most interest and the most ROI. It's the currency nature runs on.
We're talking currency. We're talking a workout facility. We're talking opening up channels to hear. Like, when it is, because you seem like a very spiritual woman, and if I'm projecting, my apologies. What is it that like you truly see now in nature?
Okay, so the first step was the training with a stick and a stone helped me feel like when I go outside, it's a home. And I got curious, and the curious led to connection, and connection led to caring. And then the more I looked around and started to notice, wow, I'm like the wind, I breathe and I blow. And like water, I nourish and I flow. And like fire, we all consume and radiate. And like earth, we sustain and cultivate, because our creativity is in rhythm. Our heart is in rhythm with this creative force. And we all carry the currency of infinite source. And so this started my quest. These poems, that poem came to me walking the earth. It came in pieces over months. And then more poems came, and then songs started coming. And this has been going on the last 20 years. And they came slowly in the beginning. And then like this week, I got 2 songs. And so it's like the earth voice coming through me. They're always about the earth and expanding my awareness. Because step 1 is awareness. You have to be aware of something, and then you have a thought that maybe you haven't thought before. And that thought does lead to an action and a change in behavior. And because knowledge is structured in consciousness, and consciousness is based on these levels of awareness, that's why a leading voice is so tricky. You have to be at the timing when the collective consciousness is willing to receive. It's thirsty enough to understand what you're saying, let alone adopt a perception that could actually be helpful. So that's been my journey, and it has led to books and songs and now a children's show.
I'm so excited to talk about Sing with Nature and the children's show. Real quick with that though, do you feel we're at a place where the collective consciousness is ready to hear what you have to say?
Yes, because it's not just me. There's so many voices out there that are resonating with this. I mean, this is really old stuff. I mean, you look at indigenous people that are still here. Sometimes we see them come out of the Amazon forest crying because they don't understand how we don't feel what's happening when tractors come in and just take out entire chunks of a rainforest so they can graze cattle, so we can have cheap hamburgers, right? So they are so connected. The consciousness is so connected with the living consciousness of the earth that they can't separate. We can't either. You know, we're breathing, so we're in reciprocity with the tree, right? And the ocean, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, we're in reciprocity. We are in relationship already. We are connected to the earth. If you are what you eat, if you are what you drink, if you are what you breathe, right? That's all living, breathing earth providing our life support. We're in relationship, but we're not consciously recognizing it. And that's what's happening now. There's a conscious recognition that, wait a minute, everything I do to the earth, I'm doing to myself. And that's what I'm bringing out.
And do you feel that is, because it does, listening to you, you're like a channel, right? Like channeling from the earth to the rest of us. You're feeling it, which some of us being a little bit more numb to it right now. These indigenous, these indigenous tribes still feel it, right? You're feeling it. What do you think is the biggest lesson nature wants to teach us right now?
That the forces in nature are the forces in me. That's where I find my harmony. The wind and the water help me see that the forces, the balance, the clarity, the beauty, the diversity in nature is the diversity in me. That we are, that the root word for human, humus, mud. We are mud with code, DNA code, divine nature access. We are mud with code. We are the earth. Every chemical in your body can be found in the earth and the atmosphere. The entire universe is in your cell. Enlightenment, there's nowhere to go. It's in, we carry it. How are we not the earth? If you are what you eat, breathe, and drink, how can you separate yourself from oxygen, food, and water? Biology with data. We are biology with data.
I had so many other fucking questions, but just listening to you talk and listening to like the rhythm that comes out, I really do want to talk about Sing with Nature first, if that's okay. You're downloading this rhythm and this harmony that you have, and you've turned it into, it sounds like, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's like an animated series for young kids to learn more about the earth through song. Can you walk us through first what it is, and then two, how it came to be?
Okay, so first, how it came to be. So like I said, I've been walking the land to understand. And in the process, I've been learning the language, right? It's been coming these poems. And the first one was recognizing how much the forces of nature are my forces, and that I am inside nature. I am a force of nature. My true nature is in nature. And I know that sounds abstract, but when you walk with that intention of knowing, of letting your divine nature access just find its place in nature, it's not hard. And so I'm looking at the issues I've had in Tahoe, running Sustainable Tahoe, have been that the mindset is so programmed for profit. Like the battles in Tahoe are around profit against preservation, and then all the nonprofits and agencies that try to mediate and mitigate within that, right? So it's been really difficult for 20 years trying to, but it's been successful planting seeds in a long game
Mm-hmm.
so that when people are ready and things sprout, they can go, oh yeah, sustainable tourism makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But for me personally, it's been a little frustrating, which is why I joined Thought Leader, to find a voice that I could put. So also in the process of getting these songs, I started realizing who would be receptive to this? 6-year-olds, young children. That's the millennial forest of consciousness, right? Because when a child comes in, they're not so separate. Everything is an extension of themselves. They already see everything as part of their conscious collective understanding. You have to separate. No, that's his. No, right? You do a separation. So I'm thinking there's where we start, where the consciousness, the clay is still soft and it's looking out at the world, and you put a child in nature and it's already recognizes intuitively that it's connected. So what the goal is let's not lose that. Instead of trying to explain stewardship and reciprocity to people that are programmed into, no, wait, free Home Depot, God gave it to us, we do whatever we want. Why would I sing songs to the earth? Like last year on Earth Day, when I went to a local church and said, hey, these songs, I have a song, a gratitude song for the earth, would you like to sing it? Why would we sing to the earth? That's God. Yes. No, we don't just sing to the earth, we sing to God. Okay. So, but on Mother's Day, we sing to mothers. On Father's Day, Christmas, we sing to Can't One Day for the Earth. One. It's just thank you, great Earth, for grounding my spirit. It's just a simple song. Anyway, but who's resonant to this? Young children. So I took the song, and this song came, The Forces in Nature, and it was a fun song. And I played it with some local children at a summer camp. And when we were walking outside by the trees to play the song, I just had a guitar. I'm not really a musician, not a singer. I don't know why these are coming to me. It's so weird. And these young kids, they were probably 8 to 12. And I said, oh, whoa, did you see that tree just wave to us? And they went, oh, I see that all the time. Is that okay? I didn't know I could talk about that. And they started sharing with me the relationships they were having out in the forest with nature. And I went, oh, whoa. And they were doing it like they didn't know if it was okay. And I said, oh my gosh, this is totally okay, because it's not part of our cultural story. It's not part of the programming of our educational system, right? And so then we sang the song, they had a lot of fun, and I thought, whoa. And I shared the song, and a friend of mine, Donna, said, why don't you turn it into a book? And I thought, a book? And so I thought, why not? It tells the story of how the balance in nature is a balance in me, and it shows, it's a fun, playful song. Well, I turned it into this book called The Nature in Me. And a friend said, well, why don't you get that book published? So I go to meet with who I think is a publisher, Monica Violet Joy. And this is with my, friend Pinnell. There's other people involved in our organization and with these projects. And so we meet with Monica, and she said, well, this is a good book, but this isn't really well illustrated for a children's book. But I think what you have here is a TV series. And I went, what? So I'm going further and further out of my comfort zone, right? I'm starting with a song, and I'm not a singer. I get the song, and then I'm practicing it. And then someone says, do a book. Then I'm doing a book. I'm not a book writer. And then suddenly I'm creating a media series where the song is the theme song. The forces of nature are the forces in me. The balance of nature is a balance in me. There's a chorus that keeps building on all the aspects of nature, which become the themes of each little segment. Each little, 5-10 minute segment is based around the balance of nature, some little arc in it. So I have it all on my website. I've got the pitch deck, and I went to a conference a month ago that Monica said, well, you need to learn about this industry. My background is I'm a fashion designer. So I understand the creative industry, but this isn't my background industry. But I'm following the muse here, right? I never thought the song would go to a book that would go to a TV show. I go to this conference, and I see that this is a huge 600 billion a year industry, children's media. This is pretty big. And I'm addressing that first phase of children when they're just getting into looking at media, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want the media to be a gateway for them to go out and reinforce and foster that relationship. So I'm doing something a little different. I call it touch TV. It's interactive, where it's not that much screen time, and it's motivating them to go out and build that relationship. And then they find their songs, they find their poems. This isn't about me or anybody lecturing the kid. It's about fostering the natural divine nature access that's built into the cell of every human mud being, and capturing that when they're young and letting that be celebrated and part of our cultural story. So when they grow up, they already understand. If you don't know the carrying capacity, if you don't have the indigenous knowledge, you don't know how to work trinomically. These are all the pieces I put together for the destination stewardship course, right? Then you don't have any right hosting a sensitive watershed, because you don't understand what that watershed can take. So I'm going like, let's not sod this thing. Let's seed it. Let's plant. Let's help foster a new generation that will grow up connected to the earth.
It's so powerful and so fun to listen to you, because like two things that are coming to light for me. One, like you said, I'm not a musician, I'm not all this, but this is coming to me. So it almost like, one, it's really feeling what the earth, what source, whatever people would call it, has to say to you, and
Right.
just saying, I'm going to act on it. I'm going to shine my light, and in doing that, you started doing songs, which led you to someone that says you need to do a book, which you're like, all right, I'll do that. I'm still shining my light and working towards it, which led it to a TV series, which led it to, with what you're doing now, it's like short clips and then kids can go off. That's huge. I think a lot of times people forget that in the journey. It's like your job is not to figure out the destination,
No.
but it's to consistently act on this inspiration that you have and trust the people or the places or the things are going to come in contact with you to help you progress it forward. Just trust, because it's the act of doing it that's the beautiful part. Second thing is I hate to call it a strategy, but it's incredible strategy to be like, yo, if these adults are living such a fucking rigid life,
Right.
let me get to the heart of what's really going to help us. The millennial force being the next generation coming out.
Yes.
God
Gen Alpha.
damn, lady.
Gen Alpha, because you know what? I don't have the answers. We don't have the answers. It's the earth voice that is trying to come through, and it will come through so fast with people that haven't been programmed against it.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get disruption in the school system right now, which I feel died at COVID. That's when the cross was planted. Our educational system is so freaking archaic. It's just built to whatever. So the new educational system is going to be a video game that people will collaborate to solve personal and planetary issues. And all that is going to happen out in the field. And the video game is just going to be how people connect to each other. There's the Wood Wide Web, which is where all the answers are in the earth. That's the one that is supporting all the life. That's the soft clay we built the world with, right? Only the earth can save the world.
And what you're saying is like the earth is like, it's got a message and a power to get out quick.
It's got a voice.
We've built these barriers to stop it. So what you're saying is, if this message is coming, let's get it to the hearts and the minds of the people that haven't had the barriers built around them yet.
Yes, that little blade of grass that can push through the cement is 5 years old, and it knows the light. It carries the light. It knows how to communicate with the earth. It does. It knows how to feel the earth's voice. And you know, in Braiding Sweetgrass, she talks about our language is inanimate, and how the Potawatomi language, that was her native language, is animated, right? And so what that does is, in the English language, think about it. He and she are just humans, and everything else is objectified. Very easy to kill, cut down, destroy when it's all objectified. Free Home Depot. But when it's animated, it's part of your family. I walk outside and the forest feels like a family. I mean, it's not like I'm, talking to bears or anything. And the cougar that walked by my house the other day, it's everything puts me on notice. They have they're living their life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm trying to coexist and give them space, because clearly people in Tahoe, in this urban interface, we moved in to wildlife habitat. The bear's not in our yard.
Yeah.
We moved in to the bear's habitat. We brought pizza and wonder why he's coming around.
Yeah. Could you imagine what that bear's got to be fucking feeling? It's like if we just in our house, someone just like showed up in our living room one day and they're like, I live here now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we don't have that respect for the wild in all life, including ourselves. So that's the walk of walking softly. Children already do that. Let's not put shoes on them. Let's let them feel in to that soil. All the answers are there.
Because I was listening to one of your talks on YouTube. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Because I want to get into why you touched briefly on why you joined Speaker Mastermind to get this out. I want to talk about the thing that I heard that you did at one of our talks. At a high level, does nature need a break?
No, but our human nature needs to pause and reconsider how we are using the clay of the earth to build the world that wants to take all the clay, right? It's nature doesn't need a break. Nature just runs on a different currency. So the world that we've created from the earth runs on a currency we're willing to die and kill for. But nature runs on a currency of caring. And that is the currency we can't live without. And if we could, we wouldn't have mental illness. So I think what needs to happen is that our best thinking got us here, and it'll be new thinking that'll move us forward. And if we're thinking with the earth, we will think differently. And since we are the earth, but we forgot, if we remember, recover, and restore that native sacred relationship with the earth, which if you put the H in the front spells heart, that's where we will recognize that we are nature. We are the earth. We are the only ones that can save the world from consuming the earth, which is our life support. You don't see dolphins out there constructing a world outside of nature. No other species would go out of their way to pollute their food and water. No other species has pockets to consume more than they can take in while others starve.
So with
that's the power of programming.
Yeah, it's like we've bastardized what we feel a society should be because it's working against the earth, right? Now, last couple of questions I have is because you have this message. So for you, what has inspired you to get started with Speaker Mastermind, to be a leading voice, to get this out there?
Well, it was all the vision and framework and curriculum demonstrations, all the work that Sustain Tahoe, we're a small group of volunteers, have done over the last 20 years. Has, like I said, the sprouts are coming up, people are adopting, but it was, I come from the design industry. And when something's trending, get it on the runway. So I just didn't really have the patience. I was getting frustrated. And I thought, I need a bigger audience. I always wanted to be a TED speaker, but you have to be invited. So TEDx is step one. And then I heard my sister, I think, sent me a link, and I heard Taylor's talk on building a school in 15 minutes. And I saw the power of what happens when you can bring a lead voice in and propose something that disrupts the landscape, and suddenly schools are being built in 15 minutes. And it was brilliant. And I saw the impact, and I thought, I want to do that. And I really liked when I joined. I mean, my God, the accelerator course, the talk practice sessions, the coaches, I mean, Phi and Elina and Tanya and Bradley and Ruth, and I mean, so many amazing coaches, the loving encouragement, the workshops. It was transformational therapy. Thought Speaker Mastermind,
What, and I appreciate that right there. What do you feel like getting out of it? What was the biggest takeaway that comes to mind for you right now?
Oh, there were so many.
Yeah, but I asked for the biggest right now.
Okay, the biggest would be, I think, finding and focusing my voice so it could be effective.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because in the beginning it wasn't. I felt like I dragged in. I mean, I think it was the workshop brought out a lot of the pain that was in the way. And I think in Tahoe, because I found myself, it's just a crazy story how I ended up trying to help the tourism industry. I have this background as a designer, and I'd been kind of keeping that aside. I thought that would really work against me. And then I decided, you know what? I look at my perceptions are a lot of times defined by the 30 years I spent as a designer. So it's hard to get away from seeing trends and the ability, when you look around, everything you need is right there. It's always right there. And we don't always see that. But as a designer, you kind of train yourself to do that. So when I saw the issues in Tahoe and the solutions right there, it's like, they're right there. How do you not see them? And it was just frustrating. And so speaker mastermind really shepherded me to finding how I could say that in a way that didn't alienate the people I was trying to get in the room with. It's because a leading voice, you have to take people with you. You can't have them lean out.
Two things that are coming. It's like there's a power of finding your voice, but there's also a skill to find your voice and how
Art
to
and a
get it
science.
across. Say it again.
It's an art and a science.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. And before we do, because I get so excited with Sing with Nature, like what are you doing right now with it's sustaintahoe.org? Could you briefly tell us what you're doing with that? You talk about how it pays to protect. So it's a nonprofit. Could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with that?
Okay, so, well, right now the focus has been on my books and songs and the TV show. So one of the books I'm writing is called When the Water Sparkles, and it's about the currency of caring. And it's basically a playbook. It's everything that we at Sustainable Tahoe have brought to the table for 20 years. The curriculum, the framework, how to understand geotourism, the principles, the 4 steps, the carrying capacity. It's like a full playbook kit of everything a destination or even community needs to sustain prosperity long into the future with, here in Tahoe, 100 feet of water clarity, which has been the goal. So that book it's almost, it will be a great reference or curriculum for a destination stewardship course. And it's also it also asks the questions that communities should be asking. Who are we profit sharing with? Are we profit sharing with the beaver, with the river, or just with stockholders? These are going to be the questions of Generation Alpha. Who are we profit sharing with? So that goes into how we form up communities like a beaver. Notice a beaver builds an entire community that serves other species other than itself, right? So the tide that rises all boats, who are we sharing our profits with? Then the other book I'm writing is called The 8 Worlds of Wonder, the real reason people travel. And it's a small journal book. I'm trying to find an illustrator right now to help me with it. It's an interactive journal book that I see in every hotel room, that the real reason people travel is for the land, the water, the plants, the wildlife, the community, the culture, the heritage. These are the 8 worlds of any place on the planet, but they're unique wherever you travel to. And these are the reason people travel. And this is what you want to preserve. And this is how people will pay to protect. And so this is a book that kind of engulfs that. And then the other book is The Nature in Me. And that is tied to, of course, these other songs. I have songs, 2 songs came to me this week. And then the media piece, I am talking to some people, but I'm in the throes of looking for a producer to produce a show. But I really want it to be this interactive educational piece. So there are some places that are looking at this. I'm not the only one that sees this, thank God, because you don't want it to take this long.
And what I love about this is you know what you want. You know what you want to turn this into, and you don't want to budge on it because you know the power of how you want it put out there. Now, with all of this stuff, your books, the ones that are out, the ones that are come out, the best place to find them, would it be your website?
Yeah, sustaintahoe.org. And
Okay.
everything I'm doing really it's like going into the time capsule for a future when the consciousness is ready.
Yeah.
Because all the pieces that we've done, it's like, it's hard to be a little bit ahead. You're not, like we talked about, the lead voice, it's not always appreciated when it comes out. But when something makes sense, does, it does percolate. And I'm hoping that Generation Alpha and the people coming. I'm actually also writing a futuristic story. It's 2200. And what does the world look like if all these things are adapted? So I'm entering that in a contest called Imagine.
Oh my God. Best of luck.
And
Congratulations.
we're guiding Earth walks and doing earth crafting. Yeah, I'm not retired. I'm rewired.
You have a bunch that you're putting out there. I friggin' love what you're doing, and I'll make sure to put everything in the description below for people to check out. I want to get to the last couple of questions here, because you're right. It's like people might not be ready to hear this. It's awesome conversation that we're having. Someone could listen to this and be like, that's fucking awesome. And it might not go anywhere, right? Like it can be looked at as different. So now I want to get to the uncomfortable part of it. Why did you decide to still get into to still leave the comfort zone and to get uncomfortable to be able to share your message and your mastery to the world?
Well, I think most of my life, people have said, they've noticed that I'm kind of different, or I think outside the box. And I thought, what box? There's no boxes in nature. There's no squares in nature. So my comfort zone is exploring outside the cultural comfort zone, because I just, I don't know. It's never been a challenge to face the blank page, because I know our best thinking got us here and we need better thinking to move forward. And I always look for, what are people not thinking or looking at? What are we missing? And really the answers are all in the earth. They're not me. I just ask the wind and I wait, and the wisdom comes through my wind. You ask the wind, you ask the water. Those are where the answers are that we need right now. They're not from me. You just go out to the earth and you just remember that wherever you stand in water, land, something or someone lives there. So be careful, and also be mindful, and get curious and ask. And the earth voice will definitely come through. Our culture is the culture of fear for the last 2,000 years, and it's still here. But it doesn't mean you have to buy in. It doesn't mean you have to sign up, because it's all a story. I was a corporate story coach for 10 years, helping Fortune 100 companies help buyers see themselves winning with the solution story they were selling. And I learned how we live in story like fish live in water. Story is the ecosystem of our reality. All our reality is built from story. That's the only way we retain stuff. That's what's sticky. And so clearly, this story that we're in 2024 is still soft clay, and it's being rewritten every day. Democracy is a story, and it's being challenged. But we can live in another story and design a different reality. We are the earth. We are the soft clay. We can build a world that reflects a state of consciousness that will work for more than just ourselves. And that will ensure our life support. So Speaker Mastermind has been so significant in helping me find and focus, so that the courage I have doesn't just fall on its face. It has a point of view to move forward to, and invite people to go out and find ways to elevate their story, their individual story, which will help with the collective story, so we can hit a tipping point and elevate the consciousness. Instead of fighting on morality, we could elevate the consciousness.
That answers the last two questions that I was going to ask. I love the melody and the rhythm that you just have in life. And today has been I actually took less notes on this one because I'm just so entranced as you spoke. But if you're listening in, one, Jackie, thank you so much. I'm going to thank you again, but thank you so much for being here and spreading your wisdom and your light. If you're tuning in and you're like, wow, that was a really fucking cool episode, give us a like and comment below what your biggest takeaway was. And if you could make it rhyme the way Jackie does, you get bonus points. If you have questions for her, put them in the comments below. She'll scour through. She'll probably answer them for you. Here are the big takeaways I took today. Like being a leading voice means that you're willing to have the courage to disrupt the status quo, to speak confidently, right? And having the courage to believe in your true calling. The first step being awareness in that. And then once we take that step, it's like that curiosity. We have awareness first, and then curiosity leads to connection.
Yes.
And knowing that your nature itself, knowing that we're not only speaking and shining our light for this generation, but it's really to start touching that next generation and watering the millennial forest. Being able to put our head down at the end of the day and end of our lives to say, hey, we did our part. And the other things being walking with intention of the knowledge that you have and not being afraid to put it out there, and having not only the power to put your message out there, but then the skill to word it the right way so you can reach that destination. Everything you're doing with Sing with Nature, everything you're doing with your books, everything you're doing with sustaintahoe.org speaks to this message, this power that you have to give. And you've perfected a skill to get that to the end user. And if you are in a place where you're like, oh, how do I do it? Step one, take your socks off and go get out in nature and ground yourself, because that source is going to help us take the next steps.
Yes.
I'm glad you're saying yes, because this means I took it all in, even though I didn't take as much.
Follow your feet, the earth will teach.
Holy shit. Jackie, you are an incredible human being. Again, thank you for your light. Anybody else, we will see you next week. Jackie, all the love in the world. Thank you for being on the podcast today.
Grateful. You're welcome. Appreciate it.